Oh, you thought I was gonna film a video for your entertainment for free while you sat on your fat ass scoffing your gob? No. It's about time I stood up for myself.
It's us.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Rowe Reviews 5-year anniversary. Now unfortunately this year's anniversary video is a bit anticlimactic, and that's because, well, I only made one main video. And by main video I mean fully scripted, written, mostly voiceover, analytical video that I put a lot of my effort into, and that's pretty disappointing. I mean, listen, the Rowe Review seasons have been on a steady decline of number of videos within them, but we've hit a new low, and future projections show that season 5 will have 0 videos. I'm kidding, but March rolled around and I was like, oh shit, next month is my channel anniversary and it's 5 years. Like, that's kind of a big deal. Like, 5 years? Damn, I've been doing this for 5 years, half a decade. That's pretty wild. I haven't really seen much success, but who cares? That's not my concern. But I asked myself, I was like, man, I only made one video that I'll be able to talk about in this anniversary video, so I'm like, well, do I even make one? And I thought, well, yeah, I mean, I can't not do it. It's 5 years. I started this thing in the spring of 2019, with the Star Tropics video, Humble Start, and I never stopped. Each month, new video. Sure, the schedule slowed down, but I'm always thinking of videos, and it's my main passion. It's my favorite thing. Why would I give up? Why would I not celebrate 5 years? So I figured for this intro segment I would explain why there hasn't been much main content. Now, usually at the end of every anniversary video, I'm very excited about the future. I'm like, hey, I got plenty of ideas. I'm going to do it. I'm excited. And listen, most of the time, it doesn't always pan out. I'll make something that maybe I don't like by the end of the year. And in this case, I made very little. But why is that? Well, I had worked on the Persona 5 video for quite a while, and I'll get into that when I actually talk about the video. But I started working on the video in late 2022, and worked on it for most of 2023. And I put a lot of work into it. It's a very, very lengthy video. A lot of thought and care went into that script. And I put it out, did well, and afterwards I was like, all right, I spent all this time making this big video and it was doing well, so I just kind of let it rock and took a little break. And I usually do. I'll usually take like a week or two between a video to start the next one, but I don't know. I believe it came out in September, but then October rolled around, and if I'm being honest, around that time I just felt kind of down, like more than normal. And during that month, something happened that is frankly stupid. Like, I'm not going to get into it, but it made me very upset, as in I laid in bed for a week and I did not feel good. Now, was it the thing that happened, or was it a combination of a lot of things? I really don't know. And around that time, I did start work on a new video. It was going to be about the Ghost Pop tape by Devon Hendrix, now known as JPEG Mafia. He used to release music under the name Devon Hendrix. It's a lot different than what he does now. And the Ghost Pop tape seemed like an interesting project. From what I read about it, it seemed very interesting and had an interesting aesthetic. And I thought it would make for a good video. And I had like this whole visual aesthetic worked out for the video. It was going to be really cool. But I listened to the album around the time that, I was like really down in the dumps, laying in bed. Listen, if you've heard the album, it's not exactly happy. It's very spacious, it's very sad, it's very depressive, it's very lonely. It's great. I loved the album, I loved the sound, I loved the sound of it. and the themes were interesting. Again, the aesthetic very, very, very good. It's pretty slow. I had to like really pay attention to it, and I was just not feeling it. I really tried. I wrote like notes down and everything. I made an outline for the script as I usually do, but I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't finish it. I just didn't like. I didn't want to continue to like bask in something that I inadvertently associate with a bad time for me. Like, I just didn't want to be in that space. Not to mention, of course, the subject matter is pretty sad. Is pretty depressing. So it wasn't the best thing for me at the time. But I don't know. But since then, I feel like, without getting too personal, I feel like my mental health has not been as good as it was. And it's due to a lot of things. I can't get a job. I don't really know what to do anymore with like my life, my career. I'm not really sure. You know, do I go to school? Do I get a job? Do I do this? I don't know. Like, listen, you go from high school and you have these ideas, and then you go into a young adulthood and you kind of realize that stuff is a lot harder than you thought. And that's kind of been what's been putting me down lately, plus some other things that are irrelevant. But, you know, bottom line, I've been struggling a bit. Stuff's been going on that have been difficult. Motivation, not great. Whether that's for my own life or these videos, like throughout November, December, you know, January, like I tried to make, like I did put out some extra videos, but I just couldn't, I don't know, I just didn't have that drive. I just didn't have that drive to make things, even though I really wanted to. Is that depression? I don't know. But that's why I only made one video. Now, thankfully, that one video is very long, so it's almost like 3 videos. But yeah, stuff's been a bit tough for me recently. It is all like I'm not looking for sympathy or pity or anything. Like, I've probably scared half of the people who clicked on this video off because, like, why would they want to listen to this? I just wanted to be transparent about what's been going on and why I haven't, and why things have been so slow going. Obviously, I would like to say that, you know, season 6 will be better and there will be more stuff. I've been getting back into it though. I felt recently some, you know, sparks of inspiration recently, which is a great sign. Shout out to Jay Schlatt's old video essays. Those are a lot better than I thought they'd be. But yeah, you know, I've had a bit of a clear idea of certain video ideas I've had, and I'm currently writing the next video, which is very good. It's Persona 3 Reload. Shit slaps. I'm excited to hopefully put that out. Yeah, I do apologize that season 5 wasn't very fruitful, but you know, if I felt more up to it, I'm sure I would have put out more stuff, and you know, I certainly would have liked to. You know, I had some ideas and that I wanted to do, but it didn't work out. But yeah, life, you know, it's rough. It's rough, and it's been tough. It's been tough navigating things and deciding what's best and working through those hardships, because I just didn't expect it to be this way, I guess. You know, I just have to figure it out and learn what matters to me, and follow that. I think that's the best outlook I have, and YouTube is one of those things I value, so I do want to keep up with it when I can. But yeah, that's kind of the rundown. I hope I didn't weird anyone out with that, but I just wanted to be honest, I suppose. But yeah, this anniversary video will be shorter than most, but we'll still have a Q&A at the end, and let's talk about my Persona 5 video, shall we? Alright, so with all of that sad shit out of the way, let's talk about reflecting on Persona 5. This is my biggest video to date, and I'm not going to beat around the bush with this one. It's my best video, and I knew that as soon as I put it out. I was like, this is my best work. This is my magnum opus, at least of right now. But yeah, I started playing in October, and I loved it. I was like, holy shit, this is like the greatest game ever made. And I played it and played it and played it, did a bit of a New Game Plus to keep up with it while I wrote the script. And man, like in terms of like how long I've ever worked on a video, Persona 5 is definitely the longest. Like it took almost a year to make, which is pretty crazy, but also kind of cool at the same time. Like I was very proud that I was able to see a video of this length through, because, you know, I'll be honest, like in the past I've started pretty long retrospectives on things, and they just got a bit too big for my britches. Like one of them was a Mario Kart retrospective. Now I did have some technical issues with that one, but that one definitely fell through. Like I just gave up. And then there was another one that was like even bigger scale, like ridiculously ambitious, almost a little too ambitious, and I just could not see that through. It just got to be way too much to like keep track of and work on. It was a bit of a nightmare. But this one, you know, was one game, a lot of stuff in the game, but I saw it through. I kept chipping away at that script, refined it, I read it over several times, and I think it came out great. It's easily my best script that I've done. Like I think it flows really well. I touch on pretty much everything I wanted to. I mean, Persona 5 is such a big game filled with so much stuff to talk about. You know, I think it's interesting how the Reflecting on Persona series kept getting bigger with each video, because the reason the Persona 4 one is called Reflecting on Persona 4, the reason I made that was because I was so caught off guard by how good that game was, and I just had to write about it. And I didn't go very in depth on like the gameplay or the story on purpose, because I mainly just wanted to focus on like the characters and kind of how the game made me feel. And it ended up being like only like 30 minutes or so. But then with Persona 3, I was like, you know what, I want to go more into depth with the mechanics and gameplay and the story, because those things like stuck out to me. You know, I wanted to flesh it out. And then with Persona 5, you know, I kept that same kind of mentality or formula from the Persona 3 video, but because Persona 5 has so much great stuff in it to talk about, it was like, well, of course, I'm just gonna talk about everything. And now the video is an hour and 17 minutes long. One of my main mentalities going into the script was like I wanted to, of course, keep the analytical edge that I typically do, but I wanted to incorporate more like loose language and humor into it, almost like be myself a bit more. And I think it turned out pretty well. Like there were definitely some parts in the script where I, you know, made it a little more casual, like I was just like talking about it to somebody. Like that's kind of the angle I wanted to go with. And I think the humor works pretty well. Like the, you know, simple little jokes, you know, simple little funny ha-has in there. You know, I put a little skit in there that I had fun doing. And even little things like the Maruki antidepressant pills image I made, like that was pretty funny. Now listen, I'm about to toot my own horn here, about to pat myself on the back. A lot of the concluding stuff, like not the actual ending, but like the part where I'm talking about like life and changing your life and how I saw that in the characters, like that stuff, that's my best work as a writer with these videos easily. Like I'm so proud of how I expressed that. And you know, if you listened to the previous section, it still holds true. You know, it's still something that I struggle with. But what's interesting, and this was the same way with the ending of Persona 3, how I talked about the themes of that game, but this one I got like a little more like I looked a little further into the game, because when I was playing it, you know, it's very big scale, like, you know, the game attacks establishments and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what it's going for. It's not very personal. Well, then I looked a little more into it using my articulate brain, and oh, that sounds so dumb, but that's what I did. You know, I looked into the characters and I'm like, you know, there is something personal in here, because I always like to have a personal angle in my videos, and I didn't want to like exclude that from this video. And you know, I looked into the characters and I'm like, oh, they're struggling with these things. They want to like move on and forge their own path, and that's really the theme of this game. Of, you know, not listening to people and doing what you think is right. And it's like, man, that hits. Like you can connect that to your own like personal life. And I think that's great, and I'm very glad that I was able to see that and kind of like include that into the video. And what's interesting about that final paragraph about life is the first draft of it was very simple, and it was the same way with the Persona 3 video. Like the ending was very simple, and it was just like, oh, I'm glad I experienced this. This was good. You know, it was okay. But you know, one day I was cleaning at my grandparents' house, and that line about life's too short to be content with the bad, but it's long enough to change. I came up with that myself, 100%, and I was extremely proud of myself, and I was like, oh shit, that's poetic. And I wrote that down on my phone because I knew my ass would forget that shit. That sentence, best thing I've written in my life. But the surrounding writing of that paragraph was actually somewhat inspired by the album Floral Green by Title Fight. Now, Title Fight's a band that I've been into recently. They make fantastic punk rock, emo, post-hardcore, whatever. Fantastic stuff. You know, love them, and their lyrics really hit me emotionally. They're very simple, but they like hit in that like personal like gut punch. Like it's like, oh man, I feel that. And Floral Green had so many lyrics about like, you know, like feeling lost and like just stuff about life and like kind of and struggling with that. And I was like, damn, that hits. Like the song Leaf and Sympathy, some of the lines in there just hit me, and it really made me go back to that section of the Persona 5 script, because I was like, man, it needs something else. And that album kind of gave me the push to like to get personal and kind of really connect my feelings with the game and with the characters. And I think that's like my favorite part of the script, is that I was able to connect like my own experiences and feelings to the themes of the game, which I think is pretty special, and it's probably my most personal video. Like like I talked about Maruki's reality. I talked about like in 2019 my crush experience, and that was interesting to write about, you know, officially, because I had thought about expressing that in a video several times, but there it was a bit out of, like, it was a little out of nowhere, but I felt like it fit and I enjoyed it. I thought it worked well, because it's been so long since then, and it's like, man, you know I've changed since then, so it was pretty interesting to reflect on and connect it to the game. And in a lot of ways, I think the video is a sort of a reflection of myself, like at least at the time, and you know, even now, because things aren't particularly different, unfortunately. But you know, hopefully the video can sort of, or at least that part of the video can serve as sort of like a timestamp that I can look back on when I have moved past it, and like I can look upon it in the past and say, hey, that was a different time. I'm glad I'm past that. I'm glad I learned these things from this game, from writing about it, but I'm past it. You know, hopefully I can kind of get to that point, and I'm sure I will. You know, I'm not a complete pessimist. You know, things will change. Life will change. Song in the game. Wow. It's funny how certain media finds you at certain times and can connect to your current experiences. Like, but yeah, I'm very proud of the writing, as you can tell. I'm not sure when I'll top it, but you know, it's a good achievement. I'm very proud of the video. I'm very proud of how it came out. But yeah, as for the production of the video, with it being a longer video, the editing did take a while. But yeah, like I imported like the final voiceover track, and I was just like left with this barren timeline in Premiere, and I'm like, damn, I gotta like fill this up. So it was a little daunting at first, but it was fun to edit. I love editing, and you know, it was cool, but my PC was struggling, man. Like So what I do for my Persona videos, and some of y'all might disagree with this, but what I do is to not only conserve space on my PC, but also just for the sake of editing, I actually go to YouTube and find like cutscene compilations, like social link compilations, like ones that are in good quality, and I download them. I put them in a playlist. I credit them in the description. And I just edit, like I just use that. They're cutscenes, it's the same. Just don't yell at me. Like, listen, it makes it so much easier, because if I'm like, hey, I want to put Makoto's social link. In this thing, I can go and find a video of Makoto's social link and then just put it in there instead of scrubbing through several files that are, you know, the whole game. And it's like it keeps the events of the game in one place. You can disagree with this. Any fellow gaming video essay creators out there, you may disagree, but shut up. Don't tell me how to do my job, bitch. But Persona 5 is a long game, and the cutscene videos, they were split in half, part 1 and 2, and they're each like 30 hours each, you know, which is longer than a day. And Premiere, it loaded it. I was able to edit it with it, but oh boy, it was struggling. Like, what would happen is, let's say I had one clip from part 1, and then right next to it, I put a clip from part 2. Well, it wouldn't load part 2 immediately, so I'd have to pause it and let it catch up and then play it, which made editing a bit of a slog. But I pulled through and I did it anyway. But the most interesting part about the production process for me is something that happened when I was actually playing the game. And I find this very funny, so I'm going to tell you the story. So in Persona 5 Royal, you know, you have the Royal post-game edition about with Dr. Maruki and Kasumi, and that stuff is great. You know, I would, you know, definitely do that. But to unlock that stuff, you have to max out Dr. Maruki's social link or confidant. But I didn't. I think a friend of mine had told me I had to, but maybe I forgot. Yeah, I got to the end, and then the game ended, and I was like, well, where's the next semester? What happened? So what I did, and this is a little mischievous, not exactly the most pure way to do things, but listen, I had to do what I had to do. I was like, alright, I need to find a cheat code for this. I need to find a cheat to unlock Maruki. And so basically what I did is I figured out what a program called Cheat Engine was, but to get the actual version that isn't a virus, you have to go to the guy's Patreon and download the real version. I think it's been a while, but I gave him $1 and downloaded it, and then I canceled my Patreon subscription. So that guy got $1 from me, and I downloaded the cheat engine, and I checked the option to make Maruki rank 10, and then I, reloaded my save to finish the game, got to the credits, still no post game. And so then I had to hop on Reddit and ask, is there a way that I can do this? And then someone told me that I had to check the cheat before the day he leaves the high school. That way it'll activate a cutscene that then tells the game to do Royal, something like that. So I had to reload an old save and redo one of the dungeons and all that shit just and go through the ending again or something like that. I don't really remember exactly all of what I did, but eventually it worked, and I was able to play Royal, and I had some other fun with the cheat codes, but we won't get into that. But yeah, that was definitely one of the more frustrating parts of the video creation process, because figuring out stuff like that can be a bit of a hassle sometimes, but I'm glad I was able to do it. But yeah, I put the video all together, put it out, and it popped off, and hit 1,000 views pretty fast. And I was super happy about that, and the comments were fantastic. A lot of people that weren't regularly in my comments were coming in and saying they got recommended the video on their homepage, and I got some pretty long comments commenting not only that they liked the video, but that they liked what I said and what I wrote about, and some of my takes, and that I was really happy to hear that, because a lot of the time I don't really hear about my writing, but this time it was people that were they genuinely loved the video, and they were saying it was underrated and stuff. It was great to see. I was very, very happy about that, and shout out to all those commenters. It really made my day. Those people took time out of their day to write those things and commented, and I really appreciate things like that. But YouTube cucked me. They cucked me. Like after it hit 1,000 views, they just stopped. They stopped recommending the video, and people's recommended, and then it flatlined. And I'm like, come on, man. Do you realize how good this video is doing? Do you realize that this video probably could have made me grow a lot more? Because I was getting some, it was like the video got me like 20 subs. That's pretty good. People were like genuinely invested in this video. And I'm like, man, you know, if you kept growing it, maybe I'd have an audience. YouTube, God, I can't believe this. Which is pretty disappointing, but like, at least it got its time in the sun. You know, at least people who saw it were able to see it and enjoyed it as much as they did. But yeah, that's basically reflecting on Persona 5, my thoughts on it. Very proud of the video. I'm very proud of how it came out. I'm glad it did well. And yeah, let's move on to the Q&A. To kick things off, Reese Puffy asks, what is the peak of the animal kingdom? That would be dogs. They're the best animal of all time. They will love you no matter what, and they're epic. What are your thoughts on Subrosians, the cutest little cryptids ever? Now, when I read this, I was like, these words aren't in the Bible. But then I looked it up, and apparently a Subrosian is a character from the Zelda Oracle games for Game Boy Color, and I gotta say, I love the design of these little guys. They are very cute, and they look pretty awesome. I've never played the Oracle games though, but I'm pretty sure they're on Switch Online, so I guess I should play them at some point. I mean, I've played Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, but not those games, but these characters look pretty cool. On a scale of 1 to 7, how much of a cute cryptid would you describe yourself as? I don't know. I'm a tall, thin man. I'm not very cute, so probably a 1. Where do you come from? Americola? Shout out Star Tropics, man. That's a great game. Might be my favorite NES game, to be honest. Either that or Mother 1. Pack Jeff asks, out of all of Sonic's friends, which character is your favorite? That's a bit of a tough question since, you know, I would say I like a lot of the Sonic friends, but if I had to pick a favorite, I don't know, probably Shadow. You know, Shadow's always been my favorite. I think he's just so cool. And mainly like Adventure 2, you know, GameCube era Shadow, you know, he was cool as hell, okay? You know, when I saw him with that gun and cursing in his own game, I was like, that's fire. I gotta play this. And I did. I played that game a lot. But I also really like Knuckles and Tails and Blaze the cat. You know, Silver's pretty cool too. Are there any other anime you're considering analyzing the aesthetic of? At the moment, no. I don't really know what it would be. I honestly haven't watched an anime in a while. The last one I watched was Evangelion, which was a while ago now, I think. But and honestly, when I started Evangelion, I was like, man, this show does look really good. A lot of great shots, a lot of great, you know, composition, and it is aesthetically rich. But you know, there's so much else you could talk about with Evangelion. I mean, if I had $1 for every Evangelion in existence video essay I've gotten in my recommended, I'd have a lot of dollars. I believe I recall you saying you weren't super fond of your Raimi Spider-Man video, but would you consider doing videos on movies again? At the moment, I don't really have any ideas that are movie related for the channel, but I have been watching a lot more movies. Follow me on Letterboxd. I don't rate anything. There have definitely been movies that have struck me emotionally, that's for sure, but I can't say I've had too many ideas for a movie-related video, but I'm not going to rule it out. I'm sure something will come along that will inspire me in that way. Where's Persona 1 and 2 review, Rowe? Up my ass. And finally, Jeff asks, what are some things you want to see Atlus do in Persona 6? That's a tough one, because, you know, Persona 5 is so good. I don't know what they would do. But aesthetically, I know recently it's like rumored that it's going to be green, which is cool, but like, I think it'd be really cool if it was pink. Like a pink Persona game. I know there's already Persona 3 portable FMC, but mainline game, do a pink thing, make it cool, make it epic, make it really flashy, have really cool designs in the UI, and then have a dance soundtrack. Not just dance influence, but like, I want disco tracks, house tracks, electro tracks, breakbeat, drum and bass shit. But in terms of like the game itself, I mean, I would like to see a setting that is kind of, brand new, like maybe go back to something small, maybe go even bigger, have more travel. Actually, yeah, that could be cool, like have like more traveling in the story, make it like bigger scale. But I wouldn't mind it going back to like a Persona 4, like really small kind of thing. I think that could be interesting. But gameplay wise, I would love to see more adult social links. I thought those were interesting. All I could ask is just they continue to innovate within the gameplay, add new ideas, go all out with the story, the characters. I would like to see a bit of a return to some of those like, goofy casual hangout scenes. I love those. So if they could kind of capture that, that'd be really cool. But I do have faith in Atlas. Persona 3 Reload is great, and I'm sure Persona 6 will be a fantastic game. I don't see why it won't. Oh, and a new FemC mode. I would love to see that in a future in Persona 6. Blade Mountain asks, how's progress on the Rowe show? All I'll say is I'm shocked you remember that. Wee Man asks, your favorite flavor of soda? Well, my favorite soda is Dr. Pepper. But in terms of like a flavor of soda, like the actual overall flavor, I mean, I like most dark colas. But if I'm going for a flavored soda, I like orange, citrus flavored soda. But lime flavored Jarritos are bussin'. I don't know where all you can find that brand, but the lime flavor is the best, and that shit is incredible. Best Weezer song. My answer is a bit basic, but I gotta go with Undone, the Sweater song. It's long, it's catchy, you get that chaotic outro. That's probably my go-to favorite Weezer song, but I mean, I love the whole Blue album, I love all of Pinkerton, but Only in Dreams is amazing. My Name's Jonas, Surf Wax America, The Good Life from Pinkerton is great. I'd say those are generally my favorites. Worst experience you've had watching an anime? I don't really know how to answer this, cause like most of my anime viewing is just by myself. Nothing too crazy, so I don't really have an answer. But not too long ago, I showed Spirited Away to my mom, and she did not get it, and I was pretty disappointed by that. Like, it didn't make me like the movie any less. It's still a masterpiece, but I was just kind of bummed out that she didn't like it. So that's the closest thing I can think of. Favorite video game OST? My favorite is handily Earthbound. No question. That soundtrack is phenomenal. I absolutely love the way it sounds, the sound font. It's perfect. It's incredible. I've ever since I played the game, I've been listening to the soundtrack. It's incredible. Like, obviously it's Super Nintendo music and it doesn't like bump, but like it's just so perfect and it really strikes me emotionally. I actually did a video back in season 2 about my favorite video game soundtracks. It's a little dated, but Earthbound is number 1. So if you want to hear my in-depth thoughts, you can go back and watch that. It's not a perfect video, but if you haven't watched that, then you can hear me talk more about Earthbound's music there. And finally, what is a Sonic? Don't have to answer this one. Well, good, because sometimes I think about how if someone were to show me a picture of Sonic and not tell me it was a hedgehog, I would never guess it was a hedgehog. Rose.mov asks, are there any other franchises you'd be interested in covering in depth, i.e. Sonic and Persona? Closest thing I can think of is probably Zelda, but like, I wouldn't go full Liam Triforce and do a full retrospective of it, cause like, I don't have much to say about Zelda 1 or A Link to the Past. I mean, I love A Link to the Past, but like, I don't know, I don't really have much to say about it, but there are plenty of Zelda games that I have a personal connection to and could share plenty of stories for, whether it's Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, especially Ocarina of Time. It's my favorite game. when I cover that, it'll be something special. But I could definitely see myself covering a lot of Zelda games, here and there. But aside from that, I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess Mother is one, but that's only 3 games, and I'll probably cover all of them at some point, one way or another. Any current favorite YouTubers? Absolutely. Although some of these might be a little out of the ordinary considering what stuff I make. Lately, I've been watching a lot of just more casual content that's funnier. And I'll only watch video essays here and there because I like to pay attention to video essays, but a lot of these channels I can just throw on and chill. But right now I think my favorite creator to watch is Jay Schlatt. One day I just came across a clip compilation of him and I thought it was hilarious, and I dove into pretty much most of his content after that, and I enjoy all of it. I think he's very funny, very entertaining. I just like him a lot. And I've also been watching a lot of Sleep Deprived, which he is in along with Mikasakis, who I had been watching much longer before I was even familiar with Schlatt. I didn't know they knew each other, so it was interesting to see those two people collide. I mean, the Sleep Deprived podcast is quite possibly the best and worst podcast of all time, but I love it. Also, Cold Ones I find very entertaining. I've been watching a lot of Hive Mind. They're pretty fun. But in terms of more scripted content, I can shout out a couple Mega 10 YouTubers that I really like right now. Lady Virgilia makes awesome Persona videos diving into the characters, Japanese culture, how the games connect to that. Very in-depth, very informative. Her videos helped me write my Persona 5 video, helped me understand the cultural context of all the characters, and overall, great creator. Highly recommend her if you love Persona. Also, Bubble Tea makes really good Persona reviews, retrospectives. Sometimes he does regular Mega 10 games, but I'm a degenerate and I don't play Mega 10. I only play Persona, but his Persona videos are really good. I've also been watching a lot of Todd in the Shadows recently. He's a veteran music YouTuber, very thoughtful, very interesting. But one music creator I really like right now that's a bit more underrated is A Bucket of Jake. He makes very interesting deep dives on various musical topics. It's all really good. I really like his style, and his videos have a really good aesthetic. Highly recommend his channel as well. He's almost at 100K, so go show him some love. Where's Persona 1 and 2? Well, I already said, it's up my ass. Okay, I'm kidding. I don't know. I'll cover them eventually. Mainly 2. 2 seems interesting. I don't know when I'll cover it, but eventually I will. And finally, Kim B asks, favorite Jeff Rosenstock song and why? What is this, an essay? I don't have to explain myself. Probably Festival Song from Worry. That's always been my favorite. I don't play it all the time these days, but it's probably my favorite. It's rowdy, it's energetic. I like the little synths in there, and it's a lot of fun. But I also really like Beauty of Breathing from No Dream. Let's Go Nowhere by the Arrogant Sons of Bitches is really good. And I remember really liking Ohio Pork Pike from Ska Dream. Yeah, probably those, but really a lot of the best Worry tracks are some of my favorites. Favorite scrapped video. I have a lot of these to choose from, but the one that I think about the most is probably the Mario Kart retrospective. And that's only because I think if that had been made, it would have been really good and I would have been proud of it, and I'd probably still like it to this day. Hypothetically, I descended from the heavens to force you to remake a video. Which one do you remake? Why? And what approach would you take? This is an interesting one, and it's also funny because the day after you posted this question, NitroRad came out with a remake of his old Star Tropics video, which might have been my answer because up until then there wasn't really a good Star Tropics video, but his new video was great. No need for that. So I would probably have to go with my Mario 64 review. And I choose that because I still love Mario 64. I think it's a great game that I have personal connection to. And I could probably still make an interesting video about it. And one thing I wish I incorporated into that video was the aura of mystery around that game, like L is real, and then there was like all the leaks that revealed that Luigi was real, the uncanniness of wet to dry world, as well as like the every copy is personalized trend that happened a while ago. Like if I could incorporate that stuff into it and also make the core retrospective interesting and personal, I think that'd be a pretty great video. I mean, I love Mario 64. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But then again, Liam Triforce kinda did that already. A while ago he made a video about like the broader context of Mario 64, and it talked about a lot of those mysterious elements. But you know, if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with that. There's also Sonic 3, which in the past I've had plans to not necessarily remake, but like redo and like directly acknowledge my old videos. So I don't really think that counts, since it wouldn't really be like a remake. It would more so be like a round 2 almost. But yeah, I'd have to go with Mario 64. And there you have it. That is the Q&A. I appreciate everyone who sent in a question as always. And I guess that concludes the 5-year anniversary, which is still pretty wild to say. I mean, 5 years is a long time to be doing anything. And I'm glad this YouTube thing has been something I stuck with. It's a great hobby to have, and it's brought me so much joy, and you know, something to show for myself, and it's just a great outlet. It's just a great place for me to, you know, talk about what I love and experiment with video editing and graphic design along the way. You know, even if I may not be the most consistent creator, obviously, I want to be here as long as I can. A lot of YouTubers as of late have been, you know, retiring because, you know, YouTube is getting pretty old at this point. But I'll still be here making whatever, and if I find success, great. If I don't, oh well. But, you know, I'm happy with what I've made here. And yeah, I appreciate you making it to the end, and I'll see you next season.